more what seems like damaging is you have individuals like Ubay ibn Ka'b, and Ubay ibn Ka'b was one of these Qurra, one of these people who had followed Muhammad around and memorized the Quran. And in Sahih al-Bukhari, it records, quote, Umar said, Ubay was the best of us in the recitation of the Quran, yet we leave some of what he recites. So they admit that Ubay was one of these individuals who was the best at memorizing what Muhammad said, and yet they leave out, admittedly, some of what he had in his Quran. Ubay says, I've taken it from the mouth of Allah. I've taken it from the mouth of Allah's messenger and will not leave it for anything whatever. And we know, as we read in the hadith, that Ubay gets in trouble for not wanting to give his Quran to Uthman. In fact, some of the hadiths say that Muhammad is recorded as speaking to Ubay and saying that Ubay was one of the best people at memorizing, and that if you wanted to know what the Quran said, you go to Ubay. You go to Ubay ibn Ka'b. He was one of the best. And yet, Ubay says that he doesn't want to give his Quran over to Uthman because he knows that his differs from what he knows Uthman wants to record. And so, one of the best reciters, one of the best memorizers of the Quran, someone who Muhammad is said to have said, go talk to Ubay if you want to learn the Quran, his Quran differs with the final amalgamation of what we refer to as the Quran. So just to backtrack, with the New Testament, we have this New Testament family tree, which is representative of a free transmission. Multiple copies to multiple audiences, by multiple authors, at multiple times, in multiple locations. But in contrast, when we look at the Quran, we're not dealing with a manuscript family tree. We're dealing with what I refer to as a manuscript beanpole. So the original Quran was an oral Quran. And it was memorized by Muhammad's followers. And then there were certain copies that were written down. And then you have the process of the Uthmanic revision and getting rid of these other copies that differ. And then you have a beanpole. You have a single line of transmission that's controlled by a group, and specifically an individual, Uthman. And that's not to say that you don't have some sprigs that go out here and there and sort of branch off from what the official one is. But largely you have what looks like a perfect example of a controlled transmission.